We're here, Red Bull Music Academy in Montreal, and we are here to talk to a man who has mixed so many jams, so many tracks by Young Thug, T.I., Travis Scott. Here we have Alex Toomey.
How's it going, y'all?
So my first question is, who's on your hat?
Oh, it's a picture of Young Thug.
It's a goat if you
It's a goat.
if you can't see it. So you're you're mainly known for music in Atlanta, but you are originally from Queens.
Yeah, I was born in Queens. Grew up in Queens in the Bronx, Jamaica, Queens. Grandma was in the Bronx. I grew up there. That's actually kind of where I kind of started listening to hip hop, listening on the street. A lot of Dominican music also, so a little different, but and then
From what age did you live in New York?
till I was 10 years old.
Okay,
So not the formative years. My formative years were in a really terrible place
called Florida.
called Florida. And then I lived there until I was out of college, and the first thing I did was go to Atlanta.
Right.
Day
So
one.
when you were in Florida, were you hearing a lot of rap that was coming out of there at that time, or?
Daddy Yankee and Pitbull and all that reggaeton. Yeah, man.
Okay. Well, and you said you were going to college there?
Yeah, I went to Full Sail in Orlando, and I went to Gainesville for UF.
And so you had a lot of different majors before you
Yeah.
decided to make music. What were some of the majors that you were
I think
doing?
I had 9 or 10, maybe 11 majors. I started, I didn't last that long in all of them. It wasn't I did a year in each, because I'd be 40 right now. But I started in architecture, and I went the first day, and I was like, I can't do this. I gotta go. And I went straight out. I walked into class, sat down, they started talking. I was like, got up, went straight to my advisor. I was like, let me try English. And I was like, no, I can't read all this. This is too much reading, too much work. So left that. I think I did pharmacy, a pre-pharm, because my dad's a pharmacist. So yeah, I was like, he likes it. He's having fun. No, I can't do that. Chem 101. I was like, I gotta go. It's too much. Did business classes. That didn't work out. There's so I can't remember all of them, but that's the main ones where I spend the most time. Yeah.
So that's kind of atypical, because usually people, they have one thing and they go on it really hard from the beginning.
No, I had no idea. I didn't want to go to college at first. I wanted to take a year off and just try to do a bunch of odd jobs and figure out what I wanted to do, because I was I'm 18. I don't. It's I've only spent 18 years here. So that's not that much time to figure out what I wanted to do.
So when did you have the kind of eureka moment, oh, music, I want to do this?
I had flunked out of college 3 times, and I moved back home. I think I was 20, and I was working at a restaurant doing promotion stuff, dropping off flyers at other restaurants and businesses. And the kids that I was working with were in a band, so we used to jam out after work. And then I went to his house, and he had a laptop rig with a couple of mics and one of the fast track M audios or something like that. And I just sat down and started messing with Logic, played a couple of things, and I was like, oh, this is a whole career. This whole thing, it just never really clicked for me that that could have been what I did, because I didn't find myself to be especially talented musician. I played my whole life, but I never really wanted to be on stage or wanted to be in front of people or wanted to be in a band. But all I did was listen to music. Everything I ever did revolved around music, and I was just kind of sat there. I was like, all right, this could work. I could sit in a room. Ain't nobody got. I don't have to be on stage. That's not really working out right now. But I don't have to be in front of people. I don't have to do anything. I could just make and help create something awesome through this.
And so you decided to go to school for music.
Yeah, I enrolled in Full Sail the next day.
And where is Full Sail, for people who don't know? Where is that located?
It's in Orlando, Florida.
Okay. So you're in music school in Orlando. What was that like?
It's a cultural haven. They have stuff like Disney World and suburban sprawl and Olive Gardens. So like, there's a lot of inspiration there.
What did going to music school teach you? Like, what did you learn there that you didn't know before?
I mean, they taught me all the basics to like how everything works, signal flow, all the technical aspects. But they really never taught like, I don't think you can teach how to mix. That was not part of it. But they also kind of like didn't tell you that like when you leave, you're going to be at the ground level. You're not going to come in and you're not going to be like a star engineer day one. No one's like, the day you walk into a studio, no one's going to be like, hey, come in, sit in this chair, record this dude, mix this album, do all that. No, it's like, come in, clean these toilets, go on this food run, like wrap these cables up, and then like in 6 months we'll talk. And that's like, kind of like, one thing I learned, I guess one of my teachers, like the first month was super honest about it. He was like, y'all at best might come out and be assistants. At worst, you're gonna be like unable to find anything and end up at Guitar Center. Like, and he's like, that's the range for 99.9% of you. And once he told me that, like, I started looking for internships while I was in school. I applied to like a whole bunch of like stage internships because I wanted to do movies and video game sound originally. It wasn't really music. And then I was telling you yesterday, the moment for me was when I heard Merriweather Post Pavilion by Animal Collective. I was like blown away by the production and the engineer, just the way it sounded. I was like, how do you get from zero music at all to that? And it's like experimental, but it's a pop album. It's really just like pop music, to me at least.
And so that led you towards Ben Allen.
Which is, I was looking for him, but I didn't know he was at the studio that I applied to. So
Which was Maze Studio?
Yeah, it was Milk Money Consulting and Maze Studios, and Solitaire were in it. Solitaire was CeeLo's studio, and Maze was Ben's. And I went in there. It said Milk Money Consulting. I was like, I'm about to go like work for a consulting firm. Like, what is this? And I walked in, and he was like, and Brad McDonald, who is the manager there, one of the managers there, was like, oh, here, let me show you around. This is Ben Allen's studio. I was like, excuse me? What? I didn't know he was in Atlanta. Like, I didn't know any of that. I was visiting my like ex-girlfriend at the time, and I was like, I'm just gonna go look at studios. And like, never left. I went for a weekend and I never left until, yeah.
And you would end up working on a record with Ben Allen.
I worked on, I think 12 throughout the time.
Like Youth Lagoon.
Yeah. Bombay Bicycle Club, Youth Lagoon, Animal Collective. Then there's like smaller acts. I'm trying to think of everything I did. And Fanfarla, which is like a band I love. They're non-existent anymore, but like I love them back in the day.
What kind of things were you doing in the studio?
It was mostly assisting for like the first. I think, well, right off the bat, like I was saying, like they told you you're gonna have to go be an intern, and like the first day I went in there, like I wanted to make a good impression, and I literally like took everything apart in the studio and like cleaned the whole studio like top to bottom. Like there's like curtains that hadn't been moved in years, and like went behind them and like scrubbing the walls, like on my hands and knees doing all this stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna make sure that they notice me, because it's like they told me day one, they're like, you're not gonna get a job here. You're just gonna intern. You're gonna learn a lot, and you're gonna leave. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to you. That's cool. I'm like, that's cool that you say that. And like day one, Ben pulled me into the room and was like, come sit in on this session. Like, and like, I just like gravitated to that situation, and like just sat in all the time. Like I would clean, do all the stuff I needed to do, sit in on his sessions, and then whoever was in CeeLo's room would start at 10 p.m. or later. So I'd be there from 8 a.m. until 8 a.m. like 4 or 5 days a week.
So you'd be working on an Animal Collective album by day, and then like CeeLo Green by night.
Like Gucci came in and stuff like that. Like I was too scared of him back then. He came in and they're like, "You want to enter this?" And it was like, would have been my first session ever. Would have been a Gucci session, and I had heard stories obviously, and I was like, "I'm good. You guys can go get someone else. That's fine."
Well, I'm going to play one of those records that you worked on, Maze Studios. This is Rosie O by Animal Collective from Centipede Hurts. So you're working on these kind of like indie-ish records, but by day, and you're starting to work on rap music by night, right?
Yeah.
So before that, how familiar were you with rap music around this time period? Like,
In Atlanta?
yeah,
Not so much.
Yeah.
Like I would listen and I would go to shows and I would be around, but like it was like a completely new thing because I actually moved to Atlanta. The first internship I got with that one was a television one. So I was working on like TNT Latin America and just doing like Spanish television and then doing like, so I had like both internships back and forth. And then like I started getting introduced, like Bangladesh came through and obviously he's like an amazing producer and like,
produced a Millie.
yeah, a Millie, Lemonade, like just to name a couple, but like he works constantly. He's constantly like, if he's not at the studio at night, then he's like flying out of the state to go work in like LA and then comes back at night and it's like just sleep on the plane or something like that. And I was just like watching him work and watching him like bring all these like artists in and do all these tracks on the spot. He's old school, like it's like MPC straight in the Pro Tools, like. He wasn't like FL Studio until later. Like later, he started like to bring in like the digital side, the more like DAW side of it. But like he really knew like the hardware, and that's what he used. He used like a Phantom and an MPC, and that's like was his sound.
And like, what kind of things were you helping him with?
I mean, that back in the day, it's like mostly wiring the studio, setting all this stuff up, making it easy for him to produce, helping him like run stuff down into Pro Tools and get the beats in. And he usually had an engineer at that point, but it was like he would bring me in at night, like his engineer would be like exhausted and leave because it'd be like 4-day long sessions. Right. The engineer would be like, I can't do this anymore, and like, get up and leave. And then he'd be like, Alex, can you just record for like the night? That's like when I started getting like recording gigs and like started working a little bit more.
So around that time, how many hours a day were you working?
Between just there,
doing the work with Ben Allen during the day, and sometimes like night session as well.
Well, I was doing like 80 hours there, and then I had the other internship, and then I had my job, which isn't really a job. We talked about that, but yeah, and then I can talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked at I dealt poker at like an illegal underground game for money, and I used to play like on the side, and that's how I like paid for my internship, was playing poker because I needed money, and I didn't want to like work a 9 to 5 ever, and I like played poker before I did any of this, so it was like easy to just actually I got tricked into doing it because I thought it was a charity thing. Like I thought like the dude hit me up and he was like, well, I saw it on Craigslist, which reputable. It was like charity dealer needed for nonprofit, whatnot. And I got the address, and I looked it up, and it's like a house. And I'm like, maybe the dude just works from home. Maybe it's like a home office. I go, and he's like coming through the back. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, all right. So I go downstairs, and like, there's a dude, like a bodyguard, like there's like a doorman. I'm like, what is going on here? And I walk in, and there's just like a table. It's like dingy. There's like smoke everywhere. And then dude's like, all right, so you make $25 an hour plus tips. And if you want to play, we'll leave the seat open here, and you could deal and play. And I was like, yeah, I'll do this. This is great. So I started now. So I would like leave the sessions. If like there was no night session, I would just go to that and deal. And like,
okay, so you're doing all these like rap sessions, all kinds of like big music acts. Mm-hmm. And then later in the night, you are dealing at an underground illegal poker game.
Yeah.
And then playing as well.
Yeah.
And so when you were playing, how much money were you making from playing?
I mean, I could lose all the money I made that night.
Right.
I would play, so I'd deal for 8 hours. I would get whatever, and I would know what I was about to make, and I would take that, and I'd buy in with that. So at worst, I'm breaking even. Which, I mean, by breaking even, I mean I just lost 8 hours of my life for nothing. But normally, I mean, I played, I would win. So let's just say I'd win.
Okay.
So.
Did you ever talk to Ben Allen about
that? Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. He has 2 kids now. He didn't have any kids when I first started working with him. He has 2 little kids, and he doing albums, so it's hard to catch up with him. But I just saw him for his birthday. He did like a crazy. He had washed out DJ his birthday party, and it was in Athens in this abandoned warehouse. It was incredible. But yeah, he's still out there being awesome. Yeah.
But there came a point where you had to eventually, your work with Ben Allen would cease.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So me and my two best friends in Atlanta were his assistants for 2.5 years straight. And it came a time where he was like, y'all aren't progressing. We didn't care. We were like making amazing records, hanging out with your best friends. We loved Ben. His main engineer is Jason Kingsland. He's like a great engineer. We're all just like watching him and learning, and we're like making awesome music. So we didn't care that we were making like $0, And he pulls us aside one day. He's like, I kind of have some news. It's like, I want to move to like a one assistant system in 1 month. So one of you guys is going to be my assistant in a month, and the other two of you have to go. And we're all best friends, so I'm like, what if we just all stay? And you never said this, and we just continue about our day. And he was like, no, like this has to happen. And so a month goes by, and like I got my main thing in the studio is like I got along with the bands really well. Like we'd all go out at night, we'd all hang, we all still friends. Like I really love those guys, and like that was kind of what I thought was my like strongest characteristic when it came to music at the time. Like I knew I could mix, I knew I could record, but like I felt like the interpersonal skills really like set me apart. But Sumner Jones, who's another one of the interns there, is like a tech genius. Like he can fix anything in like 10 minutes. And like he just blew us all out of the water. Like he just knew if you have $500,000 worth of gear, like who are you gonna pick? The guy who like gets wasted with your clients, or the guy who could make sure you never have to spend money on a tech? So he won, and I was out of a job.
And at that time, you were thinking like, I'm gonna just focus on the underground gambling. I'm out of music. Like,
well, like I was like, I'm a move. I was like, I gotta move. I can't stay in Atlanta. I was doing mostly indie rock at the time. That's where all my experience was. There's not a lot of that going on. Ben's clients are flying to him. He's not finding people in Atlanta. They're coming to him. And so I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't think I can go into rap. Like I guess I could, because I have some experience, but like it's a whole new world to break in. I was involved in this whole world, and like I didn't feel comfortable jumping in and like starting over. I really didn't want to go intern again. I didn't want to start like straight from the toilets and like work up. So I'm just sitting there for like a week, and my manager at the time, Monica Tanian, she goes, you want to take over DARP, which is Dallas Austin's studio in Atlanta. And it's like where they did like TLC, Boys to Men, all these like legendary like late 90s or early 90s R&B records. And it's like, absolutely I do. And she's like, go check it out. You'll see if you like it. Go check it out. And I was like, no, just give me the job. Yeah. Like, I don't have a job. Like, I'll take it. Like, so I go up there, and I think Dallas is still the owner when I go up there, but it turns out that this couple from Tennessee had bought the studio from Dallas and had taken it over and wanted to make it a hip hop studio. And at that point, Dallas's studio hadn't been used that much, and like the consoles were all gutted. And like I think a year before I started there, one of like the SSL caught on fire, and like they had to get rid of it. So like they basically hired me to rewire the whole studio for like the new age of hip hop, which is like a PC or a MacBook Pro and one mic pre, one compressor, just basically one vocal chain, and like some effects pedals and some like whatnots in the background that never got wired up. But for the most part, it's like computer, mic, that's it. So rewired the whole studio, gutted the thing. I mean, you can imagine like how many like miles of cables are there from an SSL. So you pick up the floor and it's like this. When you pull it out, it's squeezed down because the floor is like this, but it's this high. And we're like, what are we gonna do with all of these cables? And it's like 3 months of like me and like two other dudes just like rewiring the studio and pulling everything out and making sure it doesn't catch on fire again. And like we got it to be like one of like the more like functional studios for like young rap kids in Atlanta. Like so, like the studio owners wanted to bring in the young Atlanta rappers. So what they did was they let the producers come in and produce during the day when nobody was renting the studio. So like an 18-year-old Metro Boomin was in there, like young Southside, young TM, young Sunny, like all these kids, like, and then they didn't have an engineer. And I wasn't technically the engineer, I was the house tech, and I like managed the interns. Like that was it. And then
there was a fortuitous situation came up where an engineer was needed for a session.
yeah. And so it's a Thug session. I didn't know that at the time. I had listened to his music. I didn't know him personally. And I had been like working with Metro a little bit, but like it was just kind of like free. Like I was like trying to get my foot in the door. I'm just like working for whoever will let me in the room.
The atmosphere at Darp Studios at that time, it seems like were people like kind of like living there pretty much?
Yeah, I lived there. They lived. I was working. I would have to be there at 11 a.m. to set up for the day, and I would leave no earlier than 7 a.m. And I worked there 7 days a week for 2 years. I took 5 days off in those 2 years. Like, it was crazy. It was me and the manager, Chris, and Ricky Rax was signed to the label that owned the studio, which is how me and him became close. And Metro, sleeping on the couch, Spins, sleeping on the couch, everybody just like, like we just work in shifts, like just constantly making music. All my interns got shots to record and like mix, and like one of my interns has more platinum records than I do because I couldn't be in a room, and he did Tuesday by McConan and Flex by Rich Homie Quan, like just because he was there. And so through all this like basically rap camp that we had going on, Metro one day comes in and he's like, this dude's kicked out 6 engineers. Like all the dudes you keep sending in.
What's the problem?
They're not fast enough. He's like, they can't keep up with him. He's pissed off. He's going to hurt one of them. Like, and they're like, you haven't had a problem. Just try it. And I walk in and they go to American Deli, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a wing spot in Atlanta. It's like a fast food wing spot. So like, if you drive there and come back, it's maybe 10 minutes. They leave, and by the time they come back, we finish the song, which is the first song me and Thug have ever done. I didn't see him. I had headphones on because he likes to record with headphones. So I had headphones on. He's in the booth. The booth is pitch black. By the time I'm done recording and I'm like comping and like putting everything together, he's gone. I didn't see him for the first 3 songs we did. I didn't know what he looked like. I thought he was somebody else. Like I kind of got a glimpse of him. And I turned around and somebody else walked back in, and I started talking to them like it was him. And they're like, yeah, man, it is a dope song. Like, but why are you talking to me like this? And I'm like, oh shit, this is the wrong person. Like, but which is, I guess, this song. And they came back from American Deli. He's gone. They just got the food. They're like looking back and forth, like, yo, where is he? And I play the song. And they're like, okay, well, holy shit.
He's
like,
right there.
Yeah.
In the song. And we're going to play that song for you. Some more Young Thug.
So this is also back in the day where I had no idea about like RMS standards or like how to master. I would just make it comparably loud to something else that I heard. And these mixes are like from the day. Like this song was never touched after he walked out of the booth. Like I just made it loud and like was like, all right, cool. Like that was it. It was like a 15-minute mix, and it was always what they just kept. Because we'd go back and do more, and they'd be like, no, it's not the vibe anymore. It's too different. It's too clean. It's too this, like that. The only thing we changed about this is that I took the Metro Boomin Want Some More out without telling anybody, and I made the tag that Metro uses or used for so many years, and I put it at the beginning where it's like Metro Boomin, it like zooms or like reverse reverbs into it, and then Metro's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's your tag now. Like you should use this." I was like, "You should use this as your tag, 100%," because this is from his project 19 and Boomin, which is like the first project I had like executive production, whatever. I mean, it's a mixtape, so like executive production means like, but it meant a lot to me because like that meant like he trusted me to like help him put together the project, and that's like what we spent like 3 months on. But yeah, that's how that tag came to be.
And I feel like that song in particular really reflects the atmosphere at Darp Studios because you notice it has all the tags of every producer. Like so many people were involved in that song. It seemed like, right?
Yes, I think it's TM, Sonny, and Metro on that one, and like there's been tracks with all of them. All the dudes I've mentioned, like they've all had their tags on it. It's like a 30-second intro, just like all the tags because they all worked on the song. It's like it's just I mean, it's like a family. It's like if the song was good, get on it. Like, come on, let's all make some money.
So what is it like mixing for like 4 different producers like who are working together? Like, were they all on like different rigs? Were they like sharing? Were they like?
I've posted video of it before. It's like so we'd have like wooden tables just all over the studio, and each of them had a different rig. Like Sonny has this like I don't know if he still has it, but back in the day he had this like 35 or 40-inch TV screen that he brought with him every day to the studio with his like PC rig, like full PC. We'd have to like get him like a table like twice this size just to get all his stuff on it because the TV took up this much. And we put that in the center of the room. And so his rig would be there, and then Metro had a laptop, and he would be on the side. And like they had like all their keyboards set up, and then whoever would do it, I would just like walk in and they all wanted to work on their own interface and like just be wired directly into the system. It's like super simple setup, but like there's 8 of them or 9 of them. And they're all in different rooms, and they're all constantly moving. And then like the rapper comes in, and you got to like climb over the desk to get to the chair. And like I'm like standing or like sitting on the desk, like catty corner, trying to record. Like it's just like I don't know. It was really like a camp. It was like summer camp, just with like a lot more weed.
So you make that song and it works.
Yeah.
And Metro, you've helped him get a tag, and you've gained his trust here.
Yeah.
And so the ghost of Young Thug appears again
Yes.
in the booth, but not for a very long time. He only needs a very short amount of time to record this next song.
This song, it's because I think it was like 2 months later, 2 months after Some More we did. So it must have been like mid 2013, like
It ended up coming out in like November.
yeah, it came out. It came out a few months later. I mean, but because the label didn't know what to do with it, they were trying to figure out like, what do we do with this song? And it was like, but Metro, it was a Metro, and me and Thug were in the session, and Metro's running through beats, and Thug had done like 5 or 6 Metro beats. A lot of them are 19 and Boom, and a lot of them came out later. But like he was like, "You got anything else? You got something from somebody else?" And I walked around the studio, and it's like, so there's the B room, the A room, and those are the 2 big rooms, and there's 2 smaller rooms, and Southside's in one of the smaller rooms, and he has a door open, and he's starting a beat, like not like in the middle, he's literally starting it, and by the time I like walk down the ramp and into the room, it's like almost done, and that's the beat for Danny Glover, and I was like, give me that. I was like, just give it. I'm like, figure it out later. I'm like, just give me it. And he's like, hold on. And he like puts the 808 in, puts the drums in real quick, and like just hands me his beat. And I walk back in and I play it once, and he's like, pull that up. And he goes in the booth, and I couldn't remember the session. Like I don't remember sessions. There's way too many. I don't remember sessions from like a week ago. Like I remember this session like it was yesterday. He goes in and like every line, like he punches in, but every line is the keeper take. Like every time, the first time he does it, we keep it. So he's like, okay, cool, okay, boo, I love her. Kept. I'm a saver, just like Danny. Kept for 3.5 minutes, like the whole song. No second takes, maybe one second take. But it's like one of the smallest session sizes I've ever had, because it was just like, all right, we're done. And I like walked out in 6 or 7 minutes, went into the other room. Like, I'd put like a 5-minute mix on it, went to the other room, got Southside. I was like, you have to hear this. I was like, you have to hear this now. He was like doing something. I'm like, I don't care what you're doing. Get up. Like, you have to hear this. And I pulled every single person in the studio, pulled the manager, pulled the interns. I was like, y'all, I'm gonna put your phones down. No one's ever gonna hear this. I was like, you have to hear this song right now. And like 40-something people are in the room, and they're going crazy. I think like for some reason in rap in Atlanta, like you make a song like that, people listen to it for like weeks. Like we were like in the studio, like we would be like, oh, you got stuff to do. It's like, no, just play that song again. No, just play it again. No, you should play it one more time. Like it's like over and over and over again.
You make me now. I want to hear it
You
really
have to play
bad.
it.
You guys want to hear it? This is Danny Glover by Young Thug.
I love that song, man.
So yeah, along with that song and Stoner, around this era, like
That's what he was performing live, because he didn't like performing back in the day. He loves it now. I don't know if you've seen him like in the last couple of years or seen him like perform, but he goes crazy now. But like he used to like stand still with his head down like this and like do just those 2 songs and then leave for like years. And then like started like during the Rich Gang stuff, they started doing stuff, and then he did one show, Fool's Gold Day Off in Atlanta, just Travis's show, but Skyfall had just come out, and I called him. He was at the Hawks game with Ti, and I called him. I was like, "You got to come to this thing. It's gonna be crazy. You have to do Skyfall. You have to do Mamacita. You have to do it. You have to do it now. Like, please come." And he's like, "All right." Pulled up to Fool's Gold Day Off, and like, it was where Rodeo Tour came from. Is how crazy people went when they saw those 2 live together. Like, they were like, we have to go on tour together. Right there, like, we have to. And like that was like one of those moments where like it was in this place called Masquerade in Atlanta, and like that place is rickety. I thought we were all gonna die. It's upstairs, and the floor is like going like this, like shaking up and down with people jumping. Like you can like feel it. Like you feel like this is about to end. We're all gonna die, but it'll be great. Like it'll be a good way to go out.
So, you know, Thug, Stoner, Danny Glover. These songs are going crazy.
Yeah.
You got like Nicki Minaj jumping on Danny Glover. You got
thing.
Drake dancing on a Vine. You know, you got.
I saw Kanye dancing to it. I like wanted to cry. I was like, because Kanye is like my hero, and like I saw that and I was like, holy shit! Like this is real. Like this is for real, for real.
So at that point the vibe had to be starting to change, like at DARP, right? Like people were people like really excited though, like
Yeah, everybody was really. I mean, the song came out on a mixtape, so like the excitement was kind of whatever. But like in Atlanta, the songs we were making were getting played on the radio already. Like Some More was on the radio. Like so when Danny Glover hit the radio, we were like, oh yeah, this is whatever. And then we saw it on like you said, like on the other side. We're like, oh, this is for real. And then like the labels started showing up. Like, but it was still us. Like nothing really changed until Bird showed up. But like for like I guess what was it, like 4 more months or something like that? Like it was just like the same kind of thing. He'd come in every so often. We'd make like 17 songs in 2 days, and then he'd leave, and then he'd come back like 2 months later, like make another 17 songs, and then leave again. That's his vibe. Like everybody was like that. They would just like come, make a bunch of songs, we'd all chill, and then see him a little later. So
when you continued recording with Thug and you actually saw him in the studio, you visually saw him. I've heard rumors about him like drawing on a piece of paper, drawing pictures and stuff. You never saw that?
No, I never saw him like touch a piece of paper. I've never seen him write. I've never seen him. I think maybe he wrote like something to like tell somebody once and like hand that to them. Like, but he doesn't write. He doesn't write in the booth. He doesn't. He walks in, he raps, and that's it. And you better be ready, because his sense of timing is so like. Sometimes he wants to start before the song starts, so he'll be like, "All right, just pick an arbitrary point before the song. Here's it once." He's like, "All right, start it again from that point." Hits record, and it's like 100% on beat with no click, no lead in. Like it's just an arbitrary, like I don't know, 16.387 seconds. Like literally, he's like, "Just pick a random time." I'm like, "No, I'll put it on the grid." He's like, "I don't care." So I just move it and like raps, and it's constantly on beat, constantly like if anytime you hear him rap like. Before the beat starts on a song where it's like him talking first, that's him just doing it. Like he has like the craziest sense of timing. He can hear like a half a millisecond. Like I'll nudge something like a millisecond, he'll be like, "What'd you just do?" I'm like, "Excuse me? What?" And he's like, "Yeah, what did you just do?" I'm like, "I moved it back a little." He's like, "Move it back." I'm like, "That's wrong. That's not what I wanted." It's like some like, I don't know. His ears are insane.
Would you ever get in like arguments about like little things like that?
Yeah,
like,
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on the same page creatively for most of the stuff. It's just mix changes after he leaves the booth. As far as like, if I put like harmonies on something, like I use a harmony engine a lot. Like if I do something like that and I don't do it before he leaves the booth, so you say while he's recording, or like delays or like anything like that. So all my delay throws, all that stuff is being done. Like I have like the track open and I'm like drawing them in while he's recording, because, or like on the track he's not recording on, obviously, but like while he's recording, because if it's there and he hears it later, it's different to him now. It's a different song. You've messed with the essence of the song. So like I had to get really fast at like dropping plugins in, and like say I was doing like harmonies or something like that, I'd have to like in my head hear them and be like, okay, I want to do like the octave, the fifth, and the third, or something like that, or just the octave in the third, and I would draw them in and like put them and just hope that it was right. Because if it's not right the first time, it's coming out and it's never going back in. So like there's songs like Halftime where it's like where he's like talking about like, hey, let's have a good time. All those were in. Like I put them in on a track before he even recorded it. I just dropped them down and I just like crossed my fingers, and it worked. And I was like, thank God. Because I was like,
that's become like a big part of his sound.
yeah.
So how did you think to do that?
I guess it was literally like randomly on a song. I was like, he never does stacks. It's always one take. He might like harmonize once every so often, but I really think it would bring a lot more to the song, to like melodically, because he's got such great melodies and he's got such great cadences, to like put something else in there. And I remember messing around with the harmony engine when I was an intern, and I just like pulled it up, put it on a track, like put it in the key.
Do you remember what song?
Yeah, but it's not out. I can't play it. I would,
Okay.
but I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, because it's the song I was telling you about, where it was the first Rich Gang song ever. And Bird came into the studio, didn't like it at all because it didn't have a console, didn't know me. Doug was like vouching for me. A few other people were vouching for me, but he's like, I don't care. Like, this studio is like a trap studio. It's like good music can't come out of here, basically. I mean, we had mains, we had like Osprey's, all that, like, but we didn't have a console. And he's like, I hate this studio. And like Doug was like, just give it one day. And we did one song that day. And it was just that song I'm talking about, where I just threw it on and I guessed, and it worked. And all I did was high harmonies. I think all I did was like an octave. And I just was like, that has to work, right? Like, it's just an octave. It's the same freaking note. Like, it's not going to mess it up. So I put that in, and then I threw in like another one. I put it really low so he didn't notice. Then Bird came back in the studio and was like, call your manager up. I was like, why? And he's like, because I want this studio for 90 days straight. And he booked every single room for like the next 3 or 4 months, like on the spot. And I was like, oh, well, I guess my next 90 days are decided for me. And that's when like the Rich Gang stuff started. It was like, just like that. It started with Thug, and like the next day, Thug brought Quan in, and like they never left. We were like living there again.
And so during the recordings for the Rich Gang album, would you consider the Rich Gang to be the most culturally important record that you've been involved with?
Yeah, by far, because it changed people's perception of the Atlanta rappers too. Like, they didn't think that they could put together something like that, and they did easily. Like, the first week we did 75 or 76 songs. And that's just me and Thug. Like, I'm not counting the ones that Quan and Justin did in the other room. Like, that's literally just what I recorded. I mean, Quan was on the ones with Thug too, but that's like my room, not the other room. So it had to be in the hundreds, you know?
And this studio was where?
Atlanta.
And which studio was this?
DARP. Still
This
DARP.
was in DARP still.
Yeah.
So Rich Gang, it took place in DARP.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Except
So-
for Lifestyle, which they did in Miami.
Right.
But other than that, every other song was there.
Okay, and so what was like the atmosphere during those sessions? Because it feels like such a cohesive release, you know? Like, it feels like every song is just like of one out of what ended up on the release, you know?
It was the most hectic time I've ever had, other than recording like the Migos and another artist. Like the Migos are good, but you throw another artist in there, that's 4 artists on the same track, and they're just like going back and forth. You know, they go line for line, and like you just never know who's rapping. until they're rapping. They're just all in the booth and they're just like handing headphones back and forth and they're just starting and they're going and they're back. So that's the most hectic ever. But like between like Quan and Thug, who rap 100% different, use like different punch techniques, all that, like I have completely different settings on everything. I like different mics. I wanted to set up 2 whole chains, but they were like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we want to rap on the same mic. And like they would like literally sit right next to each other and go back and forth, like all that. And so I mean, for them it was amazing. For me, I like I'm wearing a hat because I lost all that hair from all that situation. But yeah, like it was stressful, but like also you just knew. Like it's just like Danny Glover, you just knew. Every time something happened, I was like, this is never gonna happen again. Like this is something special. Like every moment, like the way their voices work together, the way they vibe off each other, the way they like made each other better rappers. Like Quan's cadences changed up, and like Thug's lyrical content changed up a little, just because like it was like almost like a competition between them. Like who could really like spit the greatest shit ever. And it was like I would just like sit there and just be like, this is so crazy. Like they would come out of the booth and be like, this is so crazy. Like what's happening? What's happening right now? Like really, what's happening right now?
I mean, I feel like the hip hop police will give me shit for saying this, but I feel like it's almost like new school like Phife and Q-Tip, because just with the like rapport they had together, it was just so fluid. And I'm gonna play a song from the Rich Gang, the tour part 1, and this is my favorite song from it. I Know It. So I feel like the Rich Gang mixtape is one of the only releases where I actually really like the DJ drop, and I think I would miss it if it was gone. The Rich Gang drop. But
So I have always staunchly been like anti-drops, anti-DJ drops, all that. Like if somebody wants me to put them in, I'm like, I don't know how. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just different. I can't do that. I don't know. So like he would have me put them in, and I would put like 1 or 2 or 3. You know, and I'd be like, that's good, right? And he'd be like, no, you need more. And it became such like a competition between him trying to get me to put more drops in and me not wanting to, that he flew his engineer up at the end of the Rich Gang stuff specifically to take my bounces and add more drops. And so that's where all the drops came from on that album, is because he was like, no, Alex, put more drops. I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's enough. And he's like, no. We're bringing my engineer in. And like sitting on a laptop, I'm mixing and I'm like bouncing stuff and he's doing it and he's like putting all the drops in, and like that's what came out. Which I mean, they all fit, so I was wrong, I guess. But I still like my version, so.
So, you know, that the Rich Gang album comes out, you know, we get into Barter 6, you know, but around the time of that album's release, the leak happens. There's a massive leak of all the sessions from the Rich Gang recording sessions. And you take to Reddit and made a big statement. And I want to actually quote directly from your statement. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I care greatly about making something new and unique, making my clients' music better, making quality sounding music in a genre that change/experimentation/sonics often become an afterthought in. I want to change the world of rap music, and the less these songs are heard, the less of an impact they will make. So why did you feel the need to make this statement?
So it was like April or March, something like that, right? Something like that. That's like the worst day of my life. Because
How did you hear?
Well, my phone looked like, because you know how like you get like messages and things. I could scroll and it just would have went on forever from like all my friends, like and all the people, like all the internet notifications, all that, like, yo, what's going on? It's 40, it's 60, it's 100, and I'm like, what do you mean 40 what? What's happening now? And like I got out of bed. It's like I just left a session. It was like 11 a.m. or something like that. I'm ready to go back to work, and like. I didn't go until like, they were like, go to work. I'm like, no, you guys can wait outside for a few hours. I just need to collect myself. And like, there was a smaller leak before it, like a 10-song leak where somebody called it the tour part 2.
Right.
But it's not that I saw it coming, but like there were songs from randomly throughout the thing. So I was like, whoever hacked whatever email that they hacked picked and chose these songs because they're not chronological at all. And I kind of like was worried, and I was hitting the label. I was like, guys, we gotta let's put something out because we have to. Because I feel this is not the end of this. Like, who hacked what? Like where, whatever. Because whenever I send anything, I wipe like everything I send. Like, so it's like, you have it, I don't have it anymore. It's not off me. Like, you know what I mean? It'll never come. I destroy files that aren't on a hard drive, no matter what, every time. And I was like trying to figure it out. I went like into this like internet investigator mode where like went on like Kanye because that's where a lot of it came from. It's like those sites, and like, or that it was perpetuated. I don't want to say it came from there, but like they shared it with everybody, and somebody from there dropped the zip file for everyone. And I like went in and I was talking to the kids, and like some of the kids saw my message, and they were like deleting their own posts from the internet, like, and I was like in awe because like all the posts that were on Reddit, that's where I really saw that people were sharing it. That's why I posted it there, because the whole front page of the hip hop Reddit was like the leaks. It was like 4 pages of it, and I was like, y'all, please stop. Like, just stop for a second, because like you keep sharing this stuff's never gonna happen. These albums are never gonna happen. You're listening to a huge chunk of it, like all at once. Don't you want it to come out finished? Like, these are unfinished songs. Like, don't you want to hear them one day? Like, for real? Don't you want these guys to like make a Rich Gang the Tour Part 2 and make it an album and then tour off it, and like everything would be like copacetic forever? Because that's what would have happened. And I was like, y'all just took that away by being greedy. And like, because like all it would have taken is like the 10 people who got it first or whatever to just don't do that. It's like, because you're not sharing something that's finished. You're not sharing the artist's intentions. You're sharing something you stole.
So did you ever like concretely determine how they were leaked?
I have theories, but because like somebody sent me an email chain where it came from somebody I know's email. And I was like, okay, so it's got to be him. Like, when in question, it was like, no, I sent it to this person, and it was somebody in the camp, and it came from that. And it's like, you looked on the chain, and it's like, there's a point where it like fans out, and I'm like, that's right. Like, I think somebody's left their email open that it was sent to, which is like, obviously do not ever send anything via email. But we were making so much music that handing it off on hard drives became impossible. People are like, no, I need it now. Put it on my phone now. So I'm like loading these phones up, and I have a stack of phones like this, because, you know, Bird's got however many phones. Doug has 4 phones. Like, and I'm just like, guys, this is gonna take me as long as it took to record all this music to load your phones up. Can we figure out something better? Like, I wanted to get them like something better, and it's just like, it was such a hectic time that it just came down to like, you have to email it to us. You have to. And I was like, this is not gonna end well. Which I was right, but like, somebody's email got hacked from that. Hacked or left open around somebody that they thought they could trust that they shouldn't have trusted, is what happened.
But you know, I feel like with you making the statement and people like taking down all the links, I feel like this was a real like bellwether moment for in kind of internet piracy of rap albums, because especially with mixtapes, there's this expectation that, oh yeah, we like deserve all these free albums, you know, and it's like there's this kind of like we deserve it or something. But then, you know, they see that there's people like you who are working behind the scenes and like working really hard on this music, and it kind of put a face to it, you know? And I feel like that was like a really important moment.
I immediately regretted posting that. For one reason alone, is like articles started getting written about it, and it brought more attention to the situation. And like people were like, what do you mean leaks where? And I was like, no, like that was my mentions for the rest of the day. It's like, what leaks where? I was like, oh crap. Like, so like I left it up because the message was the message. I had to leave it up. I stood by that message, which is like, I at the time was not making a lot of money. Like, I was working a lot, but like I didn't know that engineers could charge a certain amount. I didn't want to charge a certain amount. I charged a flat rate because I wanted to make something cool. I knew with the amount of hours we were working that nobody would pay one engineer that amount to just be there 24/7. That's an insane, like 4 months, 24/7. Like what labels can be like, yeah, that's fine. I believe that. No, I was there 24/7. I would take a nap. Like there's so many sessions where like I would be there, like Bird would be kicked up, like he'd have his feet kicked up, like falling asleep. Doug would be in the chair, like in the booth, like half passed out rapping. And I would just be like asleep on the desk. And like wake up the next morning and then just hit record again and he starts rapping again. Like that really happened. That happened on Skyfall. Like he was like, he showed up at like 5, 6 a.m. and was like half asleep. And like it was like one of the longest times it ever took us to record a verse because he was like nodding off and I was nodding off. I'd hit record and I'd be like, and I'd fall backwards and I'd be like, hit record again. And then I eventually had to go get an intern to sit next to me and hit me every time I fell asleep. Like literally had to punch me every time because I'd be like, I can't stay up anymore. I had the music all the way up in the room. I had my headphones on all the way up. So it's just like trying to shake my body awake. And it's just like rap has become soothing to me now after that, to the point where I could fall asleep anywhere that's playing rap. Like it could be all the way up and I'm like,
So I'd like to actually talk about your work with Travis Scott.
Yeah.
So was Travis in the studio with Thug for those sessions? Or?
Those sessions happened in the same day. Like Travis booked the morning. Like they were like, we can't book you, Travis. Like we can't. Like Rich Gang has taken the whole city. He's like, what about between 1 and 5? Which they always showed up at like 4 or 5 p.m. And they're like, okay. And they're like, Alex, get up here. I'm like, I just left. I literally left at like 10 a.m. that morning, and they called me at like 11, like, Travis, on the way, come up. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Please don't make me do this. And like, obviously I got up, but I got there like a little later. I let my assistant do the beginning, and he was like working, and I think he recorded that Backyard Freestyle, because I mixed that one when I showed up. And then there's that, I don't know if any of you have seen the video of like the making of Skyfall. There's like a video online of like all of us in the studio. It's like Metro cooking up the beat, and then Travis is in the room over my shoulder, and he liked to rap in the room at the time. So he's like literally like closer than you are to me, like rapping over my shoulder, and I have headphones on and I'm recording, and then like breaking down the beat and like all that is happening. He lays the hook and all like the background vocals, and then like a scratch verse, and then Thug comes in, and like it's like, I'm gonna do that later tonight. But then we did like, the Rich Gang stuff. So we did like a bunch of Rich Gang stuff after that. Travis leaves. We do all the Rich Gang stuff. It's like now 6 a.m. or whatever. And I'm falling asleep because I haven't slept in like 3 days.
Your sky falling asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hits the line that he has in the song, the first line he has. And like, I'm like, oh, okay. This is going to be crazy. And then I follow. Back asleep.
And you fall back asleep,
Yeah.
but briefly wakes you up.
Yeah. And then I mean, it's another song where it's like immediately we were all like, this is going to be a smash. This is going to be something important. Maybe not a hit, but it's just like, this is an honest, important song. And it's like one of my favorites ever.
Let's play it. It's definitely, I think, sonically reflective.
Yeah, this song is like, I sent it to the mastering dude and he's like, what the hell? Because there's a lot of like weird phase effects and all this stuff on Travis's vocals, and he's like, did you mean to do all this? And I was like, maybe. Because it's like, I've perpetually only ever had maybe 1 or 2 days to mix albums. I did Barter 6 in 2 days. I did Rich Gang, the tour, in a day and a half. I did the 6 songs I did on this in a day. Jeffrey was quick. Slime Season 2, all that stuff. Slime Season 1 was a day. Like I literally had a day on that. And so I lost my point. I'm sorry.
Well, let's listen to Skyfall. This is Skyfall by Travis Scott and Young Thug.
I remember my point, by the way. My point was that I had no idea at this point. Like, I mixed a song, and he was like, "Is it phasing shit on purpose?" And I'm like, "Fucking, I don't know anymore." Because I mixed all these songs in like a day or two, and we didn't have time to master because it dropped at like 8:13 that day. So I got to pick 3 songs to get professionally mastered, and it was Skyfall, Mamacita, and Quintana Part 2. And like he was like, "Did you mean to do all this weird phasey stuff?" And I did. I mean, obviously, everything's on purpose and nothing's a mistake. I'm just kidding. Everything I do is by accident. But yeah, I was like, "Does it sound cool?" And he's like, "It sounds weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, just master it then. Fuck it."
Now, listening to that and listening to some of the Young Thug stuff, it seems pretty interesting that you were in the room for an Animal Collective record, right?
My main job with the Animal Collective record was recording Geologist and A.B. Terror do vocal tweaks, and like we were upstairs in the B room studio. It's like this tiny studio watching hockey. That's all we did. We watched hockey the whole entire record, watching hockey, and then we had like an H3000 and like a slew of guitar pedals that like went around us in a circle. And I'm just running Pro Tools rig, and I'm like recording, and we're tweaking, and we're just like running through this, like turning stuff and acting crazy. And there's like 30 or 40 tracks of vocals, just the effects. And that's why there's so much crazy vocal effects on that, because it's just all hardware prints, and we're just like mixing and matching and selecting whatever. And on that track specifically, I kind of like I pulled it down like, I don't know, like 20 tracks and just dropped like an H delay on each one. And then just dropped a whole bunch of different like timing effects and like reverbs and phases and pitch effects. And I would take the vocal and I would just drop it. I mean, I didn't have an H3000. I had Pro Tools with a bunch of cracked plugins. So I did what I could. And if you listen to that song closely, like every time a delay happens, it's slightly different than the time before because there's 20 tracks, and I would drag it down 20 times, and I would just like randomly pick and choose whatever sounded the coolest, and I would just like delete the ones that didn't fit. And that's like super unorthodox because like most of the time with like timing effects, I'm using like an aux, and I'm just like doing a send, and this is like full on like 100%. We're just like, forget it. Like it's just gotta be 100%. Everything we're gonna do on the song is gonna be way too much, and like I like it.
Well, I feel like it changed everything. This was a totally new sound for rap. Were you in LA for some of the sessions too? Did you do that at all?
For this?
For some of the Travis Scott stuff you did.
For Rodeo.
Oh, for Rodeo. After.
Rodeo, we went to LA, and I was originally picked to mix that album, and then obviously if Mike Dean comes calling, I have nothing against that. Yeah, I get it. See you guys later. But I ended up recording and like doing a lot of like rough mixing and a lot of like vocal production and stuff like that on the album. So like it was awesome to like work with him. Like it was cool to like get feedback from him too on like what he thought about like what I had done up until that point. But yeah, that was my first time ever being flown anywhere for anything, because I was like, I literally lived in that studio, because this is when I quit DART, was for Rodeo. Mm-hmm. I was like, the Rich Gang stuff's not happening anymore. It seems like I can like freelance. And Thug asked me to do Barter 6, and Travis asked me to come to LA for Rodeo, and I was like, all right. I didn't know that I would ever, like, just to back it up a little, my thought process about music was, I'm going to be poor forever, but I'll make some cool shit. Like, I literally was like, I'll make $25,000 a year and like, live in a 1-bedroom apartment and then, die alone with some cool tracks. Like, that's like what I was thinking the whole time. And like, literally, like, I was dating a girl and she was like a lawyer, like had like her life together, and I'm like interning, like playing poker and like doing all this shit. And she's like, get your shit together, like do something else. I'm like, nah, I got this. This is gonna be good. And then, so what I'm thinking is I'm gonna make like $15, $20 an hour, and then like somebody's like, yo, we're gonna fly you to LA, and we're gonna put you up in Beverly Hills in Seal's producer's house at the top of the hills, and it's gonna be like you, Metro, TM, Wonder Girl, Travis Scott, Alan Ritter, who else? FKI was there. A whole bunch of people were there. And y'all just gonna live there for a month or 2 months and like just make a record. And I thought I was just going to mix. I thought the record was done. I got there in like they're just like cooking beats, and I'm like, why am I here? I got tricked. Like I got tricked into being here. And so we ended up like they had like 5 engineers, and most of the engineers were like, fuck this. Because first of all, it's 24/7 because you're in the house, you're living in the house, there's a studio in the house. Travis is intense. The time is intense. You're constantly like there's like 3 days where I was like, I have to go to bed. I can't do this anymore. Like I don't have it in me. I just can't. I just like get up. And luckily my bed's 40 feet away and not the 30 minutes it takes down to get to the bottom of the hills. Like literally like every time I got an Uber, it was like $50 just because of the hill, like just to get to the top. But like everybody's leaving. It's just like super intense. It's 24/7 because if he's asleep, the producers are awake and they want to tweak up the songs that he's already done. So they need you there because you're working in Pro Tools and they're like, all right, switch this kick out, switch this out. Like everything was like so like just like let's just keep pushing and like pushing until the sound gets so intense. Like there's like I recorded 90210, which I was telling you about. Like 90210, Alan Ritter is live playing the keys for that, the main keys on like 2 keyboards, while Travis is in the booth recording the original like hook, the scratch hook. And it's all happening at the same time, which is like super not orthodox for how rap works. It's usually like 2-track beat. All right, now rap on it. It's like he's playing the keys. He's like, oh shit, press record. And I always had to record. I just had it muted and just hit like 3, and he runs in. Like the whole thing's running down, and we just like cut it to like the best parts and like bring it back. And like that was the vibe the entire time. It's just like chaos. Like producers like running like out of FL Studio, out of their weird like USB interface directly in the Pro Tools. I'm recording down. And they're like, okay, we're gonna use that. I'm like, let's use something else. Like, no, we don't have time. Go rap over it. It's like a distorted beat. And then like we just go back and like replace the beat and like fix everything. And it's like, no, but we like that sound. We like the distorted sound. So now we're going back and we're like trying to figure out how to get that like broken sound that we got from like FL into the fast track or whatever into Pro Tools or into Pro Tools. It's like way too many gain staging situations, but it just turned out dope.
There's something about FL Studio and how things sound after they come out of it, like that.
I love Fruity Loops. It's one of those like programs that like takes away the technical aspect really, because I personally don't believe that's important. I think you have to hear the music in your head, and then whatever helps you get it from your head to everybody else's ears is what's important. How you get from point A to point B doesn't matter. Like using Ableton, using whatever. Like Ableton definitely requires a lot more technical skill, but like the stuff that came out of like FL and like the weird unorthodox ways that they were making stuff hit, like Wheezy's 808s, for example, are like
Wheezy beats.
Yeah, Wheezy's 808s are like some of the craziest 808 patterns, and like I watched him do it, and I'm like, that's wrong. No, don't. I was like trying to stop him back in the day. It was like. This is before he was like working on like Barter 6. This is like 2013. He's like working with Shot the God, and he's like doing stuff, and I'm just like, why are you doing this? And he's like, it works. Like inverting the wave. And I'm like, why? And he's like, it makes it hit harder because it's messing with. I'm like, no, it's just making everything move more. And then like the way that it was wrong was right. You know what I mean? And like, I stopped arguing. I couldn't argue anymore. I was like, y'all know better than me. And so I stopped trying to like get everybody to track everything out of FL. I would just go mix it in FL with them, and like if it sounded good, it sounded good. Like there's no more rules after that, because like the routing was weird, so you can't bounce everything out in stems and it still feel the same. You lost something every time you brought it out of there, and like for some reason that FL and like the way that these kids took their zero like technical knowledge and still made stuff work. Like just enhanced everything, and it created this new sound, like especially out of Atlanta. Like that was the sound. It's still the sound. It's still FL Studio, MP3s.
Right. Like a lot of the time when you're mixing tracks, and it seemed somewhat unbelievable, is you're sometimes just getting like just one file or something, you know.
I mean, like Savage Mode and stuff is like fully tracked out. Anytime Metro does anything, he fully tracks it out. Anytime Ricky does it, he fully tracks it out for me. But like a lot of these dudes are so protective of their sounds first and foremost, because like they're dealing with a lot of like engineers that are like, they don't know. And the dude's like, give me the track out. And they're like, why would I do that? Then you have all my drums. You have all my like custom synths, anything I've made, anything I've created, you have now. And they don't know these dudes. So like, it's become like they've got too many times. So then now they're like, no, you're gonna get my MP3, and then when it goes down to mixing, you'll get this. And then like, time passes, they can't find the files, and like, that's what you got. There's it's chaos, but that's what makes it work. Like if there was a dude sitting behind them, like, let me organize your files, it would just throw the whole system off. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
So I want to play a song from Barter Six, and I'm going to play With That by Young Thug, and that was produced by
London
on the track. So what was the process of like,
So
how did he give you the beat, basically?
This is the last track added to Barter 6. And like I said before, I had 2 days to mix it, but I had already turned in Barter 6. And they gave me this song. We were recording something else, and like they brought it in, and London was like, oh, mix this real quick. I was like, why? He's like, I think it should go on Barter 6. And like, it's dropping in like, it dropped April 16th. This is like the 15th. And I'm like, no, it comes out tomorrow. Like it's coming out tomorrow. And then he's like, no, add it. It needs it. And I was like, all right. So I mix it. I send it to 300, and they get it mastered, and it's on the album the next day. And like that's the process that we were dealing with 24/7. It's just like, no, this is a good one. And I mean, that's what happened with Rich Gang. I was telling you, like in Rich Gang, I mixed, I think it was 20 songs or 18 total on that. Between 10 and 15 of them were added the last day. So I swapped out between like 10 and 15 songs on the last day of the tour. Like, because it was just songs they did that week that they were like, no, this one's better. No, this one's better. And we're like trying to get the track list right. And we're like, what if we switch this out for this? And I'm like, why don't we listen to all the rough mixes and decide, and then give those to me, and then I'll mix them. And they're like, no, just keep mixing. And I'm just like, I have headphones on, and I'm mixing in headphones, and they have an aux, and they're listening to the music in the room, picking new songs while I'm mixing, and I have like headphones, and I'm like, can you guys just be quiet? Just 1 second. Just 1 second. No, I just gotta finish. All right. So like holding the headphones like right against my ears, like trying to like block out the fact that like Beat It's playing in my headphones, but like a whole nother song is playing in the room. Like, I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is how this is gonna go. But yeah, so that's the vibe all the time.
This is the environment where this song came from. With That, from Barter 6, Young Thug. So that song was significant because you told me that you had an amazing experience performing that song along with Young Thug as Young Thug's DJ. So tell me how that came to be, you becoming Young Thug's DJ, because had you DJ'd before?
No, I still don't know how to DJ. Like, I DJ'd for him for like 6 months, and like I kind of started getting it. And like, I mean, being like a hip hop DJ, it's like you yell into the microphone, and you play dope songs, and then you yell into the microphone some more. Like, at least that you can get by doing that. You don't have to be like the dude who's like going back and forth and like doing all this like blending and all that. Like, you just didn't have to. Like, I thought I did. I tried, and then like I would do it, and like people would be like kind of not feeling it, and then like when I would open for him and just like play songs I thought were like hype and just like jump into the crowd, people would go way crazier. Like, it would just be like, all right, cool, I'll just do that. But I started like editing his songs for shows, and like with that is like one of the, like that song goes live, like people go crazy, but they weren't going as crazy because you know how in the beginning it like ramps up and it's like, you know, it's coming, like the synth is just kind of like fading in. I just took that out and just put the tag in there, so it's like, we got London on the track, and the beat drops. And the first time I ever did it was in London at O2. It was like a small, like I think it was like 800, 900 people. It might as well have been like 50,000 people when that song drops. Like, there's like, again, there's like video of it, and like we hit it, and you can't hear the music. You can't. Nobody can hear the music. I had no idea what was going on because the crowd is going so crazy and jumping up like and down so much, the whole building shaking. They're screaming, and I'm just like, you can see it on my face. I'm just like, what the? Like, what's happening? Did the music go out? And they're so loud, like so loud. And I was like, okay, I'm never playing the regular version of that song again, ever. And that was like, it was crazy. It was a crazy show.
So you go from like DARP studios,
Yeah.
can barely see this guy,
Yeah.
to playing in front of thousands.
Well, the first time I ever DJ'd was a Lollapalooza in front of like 7,500 people. And I have like terrible stage fright. Like I can't like look at people. I can't like this is crazy. This is insane right now for me. Like that I'm doing this now. But like the first like, I don't know, 5 times I went up, I would unplug the mic and then just act really mad that the mic wasn't working when I like pretend to talking to it and be like, come on guys, like what are you doing? Like how are we doing this? Like what are we, not professionals? And then just like play the songs and like not move and act real upset about it. And like that's how I got by like DJing. But like the first time I did it, he tricked me. He tricked me into DJing for him. Like he like was like, you want to go to Lollapalooza? And like Paul McCartney's headlining. I'm like, absolutely, I want to go see Paul McCartney in Chicago live. Yes. And like I'm like, but I'm like, it was the next day. We were on the first day, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay. I'll just like find a place to crash or whatever. Like I have some friends up there. Like I'm not leaving, so just give me a one-way ticket, and I'll go to New York or something after. And so he got me a ticket, and like we're there, and we're all hanging out. And I made a show mix for him every time he had a show. Before that, like because he used to travel, I would just like give him a USB drive and be like, here you go, that's for the show. And I'm like, go to hand somebody the USB drive when he's about to go on stage, and I'm like sober. Like we've been hanging all day, like I've been eating like backstage. I worked with Walk the Moon back in the day, and like they were there, so like I was like hanging out with them. I was like, oh, like happy go lucky. I was like, oh, look at all my friends, this is amazing. Like, and then he's like, no, what are you doing? Who are you trying to hand that to? You're going up there. I'm like, what? Like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, I didn't bring a DJ, and they don't have one here. So like I'm like, dude, I didn't bring my laptop. I don't have anything. I can't play. So like I literally like at Lollapalooza take the tour manager's laptop. This is 2015. From 2007, it's like the 17-inch MacBook Pro, the one that they haven't made in ever. Like they made that 1 year, and it's got all his like tour management like stuff up. Like so there's like 50 programs up of like stuff like spreadsheets and stuff like that. And I'm like, you couldn't close some tabs? So like I'm trying to like open iTunes to aux cord DJ like live, and I have it just like going in here, so I have a control of the fader, and like that's it. And like I'm shaking so bad that like I couldn't press the space bar. So like I press play on one song, and I run off stage, and I run to the bar. Like I see the bar out of the corner of my eye, and like hop a fence, and like everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I like hop a fence, and I grab like 6 beers, and then like I'm like it's like backstage, it's free, and I'm like, and she's like, you get one. I'm like, no, I'm gonna need more. I'm like, don't you see what I'm doing right now? I'm like, I'm not supposed to be up there. And like, so I get like a big glass, and I'm like, what do you have like liquor wise? And she's like, oh, I think I have vodka. I hate vodka. And like, I'm like, just fill the glass up. And so I just like hold my nose and like chug it. And I go back up there, and like my hand steadies enough so I can like press play. And like by the end, I'm like kind of chilling, like dancing a little bit again. Like my mic's unplugged, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. It's like the crowd goes like way beyond what you can see, because he was on like a main stage, but like he was a big deal. So like people like left the main stage, and they're just like forever. That goes back forever. There's like I just couldn't believe it. I was like, why am I up here? Like, why would I ever be up here? But his daughter was there, so I was like hanging out with his daughter, like picked her up, and I was like using her to distract myself from like the crowd. And I was like holding just like a baby, like DJing. And that's like, that was the first time, and I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like I was like, I pulled him aside. I'm like, dude, this is like terrifying. I was like, the last thing I ever wanted to do was be in front of people. And then he was like, he like took out like a wad of cash, and just like without counting it, just like grabbed like a handful of hundreds and like gave it to me. I was like, maybe I could do this a couple more times. Like, and then like I kind of like I didn't do it for a while, and then they're like, we're going to Europe, and I've never traveled like for leisure. Like I just never like had the money or the time. Like it was one or the other. It's like, we're gonna go to Paris. We're gonna let him like, so you need a DJ? Like, because I'll figure this out. And like we did like a show in Finland, and we did a show in Copenhagen, and I wasn't talking. I wasn't doing anything. And then like I was sober for the rest of this stuff. I was just like, I'm just gonna get on stage. I'm gonna move my shoulders a little bit, and I'm gonna drop it, and I'm not gonna say anything. I did the whole unplugging the mic thing, and like there's one show where BLB is like, you got to go crazier because bands aren't doing anything. They're not going. They're not. You're not opening. You're just going out there when he goes out there. He's like, do 25 minutes opening. Just pick your favorite songs and play them. I'm like, all right. That sounds terrifying. Like, you want me to perform now. Like, not just play stuff. You want me to perform. And he's like, yeah, just get wasted. And so I go into the tour manager. I'm like, I need a bottle of Jameson on my tour rider. And I was like, how much Jameson could it take to get me on stage to do this? Cut to like an hour later, like the bottle's empty, and I'm like losing my mind, like jumping into the crowd, like all this stuff. Like it's in this video in Copenhagen where I'm like literally just like running and like sprinting and like jumping into the crowd. And I just didn't care. I was like hit play on like Dirty Sprite 2 and I just ran in. Like, and then like, you know, slowly but surely like figured out like a little bit and like started, well, I'm an engineer, so like I would cut the songs together ahead of time. I would like have like 3 songs in a row, I'd be like press play once. Like they all blend and they're all like, and I would just like go up there and like pretend. And it worked. No disrespect to DJs out there, but like y'all know it could be easier. Like,
do you know? You know you are on Red Bull Music Academy.
Yeah, man, I'm just saying. Look, I never claimed to be a DJ. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm an engineer who got thrown into that, and like I tried to get people to give me lessons. I like hit A-Track. I'm like, yo, please help, because like I watch him DJ all like every time he's around. I'm like, I'm gonna go sit behind him and just stare and like see if via osmosis something sticks. And every time I'm just like, guys, I don't know, man. Still nothing. And like, because you know, everything he's doing is complicated. He's like triggering. He's got pads. He's got like 8 million cues, and I'm just like, nah, I can't do all that. One.
But you say, you know, you're not a DJ. You're an engineer.
No, I would love to DJ, but like, that seems like it would take a long time to figure out.
But you're more than an engineer, though, because as evidence on,
I'm not a DJ. I'm not even a little bit of a DJ.
Because as evidence on Slime Season and Slime Season 2 and probably many other releases that we don't even know, you were involved with some of the track listing and stuff.
Yeah.
And tell us the process of putting those records together, because they partly from the
leaks.
From the leaks.
Well, Slime Season 1 was originally London's idea, and it was going to be all London on the track and Thug. But then, like, during that, the leaks happened more. Like, they were getting traction where, like, there's some great tracks in here that we need to throw in there. And, like, so, like, a lot of Slime Season 1 is London, but then a lot of it's, like, we wanted to put some new tracks in there. We wanted to finish and remaster the old tracks. We wanted to really, like, put together a project of... Slime Season 1 was supposed to be hits. Like, it was like, here's Thug's range. Here's some crazy pop stuff. Here's some hard stuff. Here's his most popular song ever now. And then I put my favorite song, Freaky, on there, which is like my favorite Thug song.
It's also my favorite Thug song
ever. And then he basically gave me like 30 songs that he was like, pick. And I got down to like 22, which shows how decisive I am, because I couldn't pick. I really couldn't. And then we added like Quarterback came the day of. That was like literally the day of. Like, I was in bed, and there's like, we had 2 versions of it. We had the Migos ones and the Long Way, and I'm like, I'm not leaving. Long Way's verse on there is so good. I was like, I'm not leaving that. So I'm like in bed, like mastering it and like putting it together and like sending it off to like go on to like live mixtapes or whatever. And like that whole tape was like, we're gonna save these songs. Like, we have to save these songs, and we're gonna take control back. And then same thing with Slime Season 2 and a little bit of Slime Season 3 also.
Okay, so we're going to play something from Slime Season, which is Young Thug's biggest track to date. It is Best Friend by Young Thug.
Ricky
So Slime Season 1 was primarily like a vehicle for Best Friend in a lot of ways. I think you were mentioning.
That's what me and Thug decided, because like, the label's like, we're gonna push Good Times, we're gonna do this. And we're like, no, we have this track. It's super topical. Like, it's like amazing. It's like I said, Ricky's like my best friend in music. Like,
Ricky Rax, who produced
Ricky
that.
Rax. Like, he was signed to the people that own DARP, and we had been making beats and like just hanging out for years. And he hadn't had like a breakthrough track, but like I always had like a pack of beats from him, and they were always like that. They're always like that good. Every single one's that good or better. And like Thug didn't know him, and I was like, so I would just like throw a beat in there every so often and be like, what about this one? And be like, eh. And then that happened, and like it became like, where's the Ricky beats? Where are the Ricky beats?
Right.
Like, and I would just call them up and get like a 10-pack and be like, okay, here you go. And like, so it became like, I mean, there's a lot of Thug and Ricky on the way. Like they have so much music together now, which is like amazing because like he deserves it. He's like one of the hardest working people I know.
So around this time period of when Slime Season was coming out,
Yeah.
it was kind of a weird period for Thug because he got arrested by going to Lenox Square Mall.
Thank God I wasn't there that day because I have all the files.
That's right.
And they raided his house and they took everything. They took the compute. They took the computer. They took somebody else's. They took like Weezy was like up there making beats. They took his laptop. They took everything. And I'm like sitting at home, and it's one of those days, just like the other day, where it's like, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Like, are you home? Do you have the files? What's going on?" I was like, "What's up, man?" Like, they're like, "Look at the internet," and I was like, "I look," and it's like, Thug arrested for yelling at,
Uttering terroristic
Yeah.
threats, they said.
which like, come on, man. He was like riding around on one of those little 2-wheel things in the mall,
On a
and some guy
hoverboard.
told him to get off, and he was just like, "I'll kill you," or whatever. Allegedly, he was probably like, "Get out of my face!" And the dude was, I mean, he's like 6'4", and then he's standing on that thing, so he's like 6'7", and like, so he probably just got scared. I mean, those guys have them too, though. So I just like, that could have been a cool high-speed chase, like. They're just going through the mall, like trying to catch him down. They got like the little 3-wheel ones. And they got their helmets on. And
Paul
like,
Blart,
like who?
mall
Would, yeah,
cop.
who would listen to that guy? I wouldn't. They're like, get off. I'm like, nah, man. I just wouldn't get arrested because cops are racist. So just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean that.
Speak your mind.
I mean, he's in a nice area, dressed like how he dresses. It's like it's northern Atlanta. It's a very white neighborhood, and he's riding around on the thing, making a scene. I think he was a little targeted. I mean, I don't think that's like that crazy to say. It's a super like affluent neighborhood that he was in. Like,
I was just in Atlanta, and just from all the trap songs, I was like, oh, I need to check out Lenox Square Mall, right?
it wasn't even in Lenox. It was in the north. It was in the.
Oh, yeah.
It was in like it was in the mall like north of
An even
Atlanta.
northern
yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Lennox is lit. Lennox, they don't care. Like,
okay.
You could like ride those down the escalator. They wouldn't care.
But when I got there, Young Thug was standing outside
Yeah, they
of
love
the
it.
mall, just like.
I see Quan there more than I see him anywhere else now. It's like I just run into him at Lennox.
What is it with the Atlanta culture? There's like everyone hang out at that mall. We got like Magic City. There's like these hubs, but they're
Those places are great.
right. But
Magic
like,
City's amazing. I mean, what do you want? It's an amazing place to be. It's a friendly environment where like the community hangs out and they enjoy entertainment.
adult entertainment.
Yeah, bring the whole family.
So you had, all the backups.
Yeah,
Luckily,
which was before. It was before the Slime Season, I think, is when they raided. Like, right before it.
Right.
And like we were about to drop them. Like, so you got the files? I'm like, absolutely, I have them. Like because I have a safe and like everything. Like every day I go home and I like back up my drive onto the drive on the safe, and, like lock it up, hide it again. And I don't believe in one backup. I don't believe in two. I believe in three. Like the artist should have one, and you should have two. And like honestly, Skyfall wouldn't have existed without me doing that. Because Travis was like super protective of his files because like Kanye had just had a situation where like he had a leak from somebody stealing something, and Travis was like, first day working there, he's like, do not save anything on your drive. I was like, all right. So that's it. And like I knew the risk I was taking, which is if something comes out and it's from me, like that's the end of my career. But I also knew that like we can't have one version of this. Like the song's too good. What if we lose it? And he went to like a restaurant, and like somebody went into his car and grabbed his backpack when he was in the restaurant. And he hit me up. He's like, do you have the files? And I thought it was a test. And I was like, nah, dog, I don't got no files. Like, no. He's like, no. Somebody went into my car and jacked my bag because they thought it was like a nice Louis bag or something. And they saw it through the window in valet, and the valet probably left the car unlocked and like snatched it right up. And they took his drives. And I was like, oh yeah, I have it. Yeah, I definitely have it. He's like, yeah, can you send it? I was like, yeah, definitely. And like that's when he like went in and like redid all the vocals and like finished the song and like sent it back. And like,
Was he mad that you had done the backup though?
I assume not.
Clearly not. Right?
Clearly not. There's a few songs on there that I was like that came out like the one with Future and him that came out before that was on there. Like there's a few songs that like I had because we had been working for like 2 weeks or whatever, so I had like a good handful of songs that like would have never seen the light of day if I wasn't just like a quick little drag and drop.
So it's 3 backups. That's the
3.
rule. Around
In
the
different
same
places.
Yeah.
Because like your house burns down while you're away. Just like that's like literally how I think. Like I'm like, what if my house burns down while I'm out? Like I like literally have my backpack on me. I'm just like, oh no. Or like if I'm working on a project, I'll have like a flash drive or something. So like if everything goes wrong at the same time, I still have this because just in case. But like that's just how you have to think when you engineer, I guess.
So around the same time period, it was Good Times comes out. I learned something about how that beat was picked out, and I find this very interesting. So can you tell the story of how the beat was discovered for this song?
Okay, so this is like we did Good Times during the Rich Gang sessions, but I knew that it couldn't go on the Rich Gang tape because it's Jamie XX, and that would have been, I mean, I would have liked that, but I feel like he sent the beat through 300 to me to be played for Thug, because Thug would only listen to beats that I picked for him to listen to. If somebody else picked the beat, he would be like, okay, cool. And then just like move on to they go play pool or something in the lobby. And like, but if I played it for him, it would be like my cosign. Like people would give like hundreds of beats a day, especially during the Rich Gang stuff. And he would be like, Alex, what did you got for me? Like, what did you pick? And I'd have like them all marked like colors, like red was like the best ones, and like yellow, and like I would just work my way down, and then like gray out whatever I picked. And I made one of them blue, which is Good Times, because they sent me a pack, and I was like, what's this, and why does it say Jamie XX on it? Because I'm a fan, obviously. And like, oh, he's making an album, like, just see if he'll do it, maybe. I was like, oh yeah, just see if he'll do it, maybe. And for the next 2.5 months, during the Rich Gang shit, the first thing I did every day when Thug walked through the door was play the Good Times beat. And he was like not in that vibe. Like I think we did that song the same day we did I'm a Ride, which is like a super like trap song, like super aggressive. Like it was just not, it was like we weren't doing a lot of crossover stuff at that point. And he was just like, man, why do you keep playing this beat? It's too happy, it's too happy, it's too happy. And 2.5 months go by, and he's like, I play it, and he's like, fine. And like, comes in and like raps on it, and like it's the first thing we do that day. And the one thing I'll say about it is they took my name out of it, like Jamie's people, because he says my name in the very beginning. I don't know if you know the song, but he says, and he's running up the money on these hoes, that line. He says, I got Alex in this bitch with me. And that's the second half of the line. And I guess like they didn't think it fit or whatever.
They didn't think you fit.
Yeah, they didn't think I had any place in the song. So, I mean, I'm not that mad about it. I just cry about it at night and stuff. So, because I was like, Jamie and Thug on the same song with my name on it. I was like, I'm gonna frame the waveform.
Well, let's take you down memory lane.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be Good Times, Jamie XX featuring Young Thug. So kind of whenever you hear that song, you feel like the popcorn. You're like,
I mean, first time I heard anything, it was a surprise because I thought it was just a Thug and Jamie track. when we first heard it, 'cause they were like, okay, send us the files. They sent me the beat track out. They're like, all right, you got a shot to mix it. But then like, obviously they added a whole bunch of stuff and changed it. And I was like, they sent it back and I was like, no, this is not what I sent you at all. And I was like, can you put my name back in? Like, I was like, the popcorn part, like, it like threw me off because like I thought the sample was going to be the hook, and then he went on top of it, and like it took a while. It grew on me because I had heard our version for months. It had been months and months at that point, so it took a while to grow on me. But now I love this version, minus the first like 30 seconds where they don't say my name. I'll let it go. Don't worry. But, yeah, I love it now, but it definitely took a while.
Well, and that song ended up becoming like the song of the summer.
Yeah.
You know, it was just such a
Definitely.
jam. I feel like it's also a result of your previous experience with indie music and like the knowledge of knowing that. Like, that could have been an opportunity that just never happened, you know?
Yeah, I think definitely the fact that I knew who he was made me like force, like, because they had sent it to a bunch of rappers. There's a bunch of rappers out there that like have verses, and like a lot of other versions have come out. But they said like I played it for them over the phone, and they were like, "Yeah, we need that one. That's what we need." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it. Like, it's really good. He's really good at rapping."
And that was like that was the biggest like mainstream moment for Thug.
Yeah, that was the biggest crossover for sure yet for him.
Like, how did that change things for just your general operation?
For between me and him, nothing was changing at that point. Like, we were literally like brother. I mean, we literally lived together for the most part. Like, I built a studio in his place. He had like a mansion, and I literally would just go there and like lay on the couch, fall asleep, wake up, and be like, all right, let's make some more music. Like, I got him a vintage U87, CL1B, like Apollo 8, like the trash can Mac. It ran better than most of the studios we went to, and it sounded better. That's where Best Friend was done, I think. Like, it's all like, we didn't have to leave. We were just hanging out all the time. So like after that, it was just business as usual for the two of us, I think.
And then something amazing happens. Kanye comes calling.
Oh yeah, it was like late last year, and we were touring, and they're like, "Alex, get in the car." I'm like, "Where are we going?" Like, it's like middle of the day. Like, we don't normally move until like 8 p.m.
Seems
like,
very impulsive,
Yeah.
young Thug.
Yeah, 100%. That's like, I mean, you always just like on your toes. Like, you got to be ready for anything all the time. But like, I think one of the dudes from the label was like, get in the van now. Like, get everything you have and get in the van. We're going. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, can't tell you. I'm like, I wish you would tell me. Because of the situations that you guys have got me into before. I just wish you would just say something, like throw something out there. And like, so we're in this car and we're going and we're driving and we're driving and we're driving. We get to this like neighborhood and it's got a gate. And they're like, we're here to see Mr. West. I said, excuse me? I'm in the back and I'm like taking pictures at this point. Like, I'm like trying to, like, I'm like, I'm going, like, I'm like Snapchatting. I'm like, I'm going to Kanye's house. I'm going to his house. Like, freaking out. And so we get to the house, like, sign all this paperwork or whatever. And then we go in and he's got like, it's the house from like the TV show. Like, it's like the big courtyard and they're still building everything. And like in the back, they have a studio and Noah's there and Ye's there. And that's it. It's me, BLB, the security, Thug's girlfriend, Thug's daughter. And like the mic's in the room. It's like super chill. They have like a big old TV, like one of those 90-inch LED screens, and like we're just chatting for the first couple hours and like playing music. And like Kanye's like the nicest person I've ever met. And I was like kind of worried because like, you know, you've seen the rants or whatever. I was like, no, he's literally the nicest person. And then all we did was talk about movies and like, well, I mean, we worked a lot too, but like he put up like There Will Be Blood and American Psycho, and like we watched them on silent, and Thug had never seen them before because like it just never had come across him. And like first of all, I had to narrate these movies because they were on silent, so like, which I've seen them enough to be able to do. And like I was like telling Thug what's happening. He's like, man, these movies are amazing. And I'm like, you should hear them. Like, he's like, they're even better when my job is. But like, so we're just like running through tracks and like he's like playing stuff and he's like, maybe record on this, maybe record on this, maybe record on this, and he pulls this one up, and he's like, maybe record on this over these vocals. And like, so Thug does his vocals, and it's a small part, but like I got to work on a Kanye album. So like, that's fine. If I recorded one word, I'd be like, credits Kanye West. Like that's happening like 100% of the time. Like, but yeah, we were there for like 15, 16 hours, like just like working and working and working. Just like they'd pull up new beats and like Noah would like go in and like he'd record or I'd record. We were jumping back and forth, and Noah's like an amazing engineer and like has a crazy sense of timing too. Like it's like they're working off grid the whole time, and he's like flying stuff, and like it's all just like he knows what it looks like, and it's like not me. I'm not the tab to transient dude. I'm like okay, let me build the grid and like move everything and like make sure it's perfect, and then I'll adjust it later to how I want it. But like he's just like, nope, all right, nope, nudge. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I was just like watching and learning, because like obviously he's I probably had to fly by the seat of his pants more than anybody with like that situation, because like they're making albums and they're finishing them the day of, and like it's the same situation. It's just there's a lot more production going in with a Kanye album than there is on like anything else.
So let's play the result of that. This is Highlights.
I cried the first time I heard this. I heard it along with everybody else who was watching the Madison Square Garden thing. So I didn't know that Art Vocals made it. And I'm watching, and I'm like...
And Young Thug is sitting
there, and I'm
modeling.
Like, and I'm like, we had to make it. He's there. We had to make it. And I'm like, but I didn't know. And they played it, and I just lost it. I just like lost, because I was like, I made a Kanye album. Like, that's the bucket list. That's like, it's that and like Andre 3000 were like 1 and 2, and I was like, that's one. And I was like, just from a random day where I got like told to get into a car and just said okay.
So for anybody watching, if somebody tells you get in the car, you might end up at Kanye's house.
Yeah. You never know.
So this is Highlights, Young Thug and Kanye.
Me and Ray J will be friends.
So one of the interesting things about that song is I feel like Kanye's really good at doing this thing where that song, it to me sounds influenced by Young Thug's music, right? And it has Young Thug in it, and it's, you know, it's got those colors, but it's unmistakably still a Kanye song. So how would you recommend for people who are mixing or working on a track, how do you be influenced by something but still maintain the sonic identity that you're known for?
So one thing I always talk about is like when people ask me for like mixing skills and like tips and tricks, I never have like a do this to get this. You know what I mean? It's all like in the philosophy of like, you have a voice, and like your voice is super important. And that's like what happened with a lot of the stuff we did in the beginning. It's like, we have to maintain this Atlanta voice. Like, it's like, this has to feel like Atlanta. It can't be too polished. It can't be too perfect. It has to be a little wrong. And it's like, that kept the voice of like everything we were doing back then. And it's like, with Kanye, he's like, all right, I'm gonna throw these samples in, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna make it mine. And I think when you're collabing, it's like a back and forth of like, who's gonna be featuring who. You know what I mean? And I think when it's your track and you have another producer and you're working on it, like, make it yours. Let them influence it, but that's your track. Like, you have to keep you at all times, because like that's what you have. Like, you have your voice, and that's something that nobody else has. And like when you're trying like to copy people or trying to emulate people, and that's all you're doing, like you're erasing the only thing that you have that no one else has, because everybody else can do it. The others, everybody else can copy. Like, I've traced before, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier than drawing. And like, I don't know. I just think that like, whatever you do, you have to make sure that it's you first and not anything else. Like, when you're creating, like, you could bring in the influence, and like, it's okay to be influenced by stuff, but it's not okay to like just turn around and just become that project that you're trying to emulate or be influenced by.
Well, that's something that's happened a lot with the Atlanta sound, right? Where people have taken it and run with it. And this is something that kind of like was originating, you know, in Darp Studios when you guys were just all hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind seeing artists that sound like Atlanta artists come out, especially because like when we traveled the world, like we were in like Dubai and you heard like rap there, and it's like, oh, it sounds kind of like Atlanta. You go to France and you're like, this is just Atlanta. Like, this is amazing. Like, we went in there and like we worked with this artist Dose, and he had like such an Atlanta sound, but it was like French producers, French artists, everything's there, and it's theirs, and it's like we were in this World War II bunker, which is crazy. That was converted to be a studio, and it was like the craziest thing. But like we were sitting there and like he's playing all this music, and I'm like, it's crazy how like this sounds like Atlanta 2 months ago. It sounded like we were there, and like Barter 6 was still pretty recent, and it sounded like Barter 6, and it was like it had those same musical elements that like London brought to, like with that, and like the tune and the same kind of like hall reverbs and stuff. I was like, y'all do your homework. Like I'm like, that's awesome, but it still felt like it felt like them, like Karis and like Dose and all them, like they still sound like them, but they just sound like them who've been listening to Atlanta for a few years. Like that's fine.
And I guess another way of, keeping it moving, and avoiding, a style being totally taken is just keep changing and keep growing.
I think, especially in Atlanta, like you don't really hear two artists pop off that sound the same. Like you got the Migos. The Migos sound like the Migos. You got Thug. Thug sounds like Thug. You got Quan. You have fucking everybody. Future. Future sounds like Future out of Atlanta. Like nobody else out of Atlanta
Gucci
sounds like
Gucci.
Gucci sounds like Gucci. Gucci doesn't even rap. Gucci just like says stuff that's baller as fuck and is amazing. Like he talks like that. Like, that's like how he talks. He's like he could say anything at any point, and you're just like that was, better than anything I could think of ever with an hour to write it. Like he's amazing. But like all of them, Pee Wee Longway sounds like Pee Wee Longway. Right. Like everybody sounds like they have to like create their own unique identity because biting in Atlanta is like a crime. Like if you sound like someone else, like it's like talked about forever. It's like you just bit him. That's just stealing. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I want to talk about this next song that I'm going to play, which I feel like has created a lot of kind of social media interest in you specifically. So I'm going to play the song first, and then we're gonna find out for once and for all what is actually being said here. So I'm going to play "Digits" by Young Thug from Slime Season 3. So on Twitter, there were some magazine articles. You went on Twitter, you boosted the vocal, you isolated the vocal, you made kind of a techno track, just looping the thing.
So I did all that. I mean, I make jokes and I think they're funny, and then people think I'm serious.
They grow legs.
Like I did, like I talked shit about the Star Spangled Banner because, like, how like they're not standing, like Colin Kaepernick's not standing for it right now, and I was like, of course he's not. It's not a banger. Like that song kind of sucks. That's the weakest national anthem of all time. I was like, Francis Scott Key got no bangers, bro. Like I'm like, I'll stand for it when it's got like the Metro tag and the 808 siren. So I did that, and I put it in there, and I said like Star Spangled Banger coming soon. And like they wrote an article about that, and now I have to do that. Like I really have to like go make the Star Spangled Banger, and like the same thing happened with Digits because like I thought it was Horses from the beginning. I've always thought it was Horses. I don't know what y'all think.
It's either Horses Don't Stop or Hustlers Don't Stop. They keep going.
And London says it's Hustlers. 300's come out and said it's Hustlers. So I'm in the minority. But like I recorded it and I heard it and I thought Horses the whole time. And I was like, that's a weird line. But it's kind of true. They run for a really long time. Right. So like,
it reminds me of Wild Horses.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and I was like, that's kind of dope. Like, and then like I've been saying Horses for a year-ish, if not more, and like now everybody's telling me I'm wrong, so I'm sticking with it. And like, so I made like a chopped and screwed remix where it's just like Horses over and over and over again, and that grew legs. And then like it grew legs again like the other day. Like somebody went and like reposted it, like came back up. I was like, please stop, because like I'm wrong. I'm in the wrong apparently. It's like Thug's people say that it's Hustlers, so it's Hustlers, right?
Yeah.
Not to me. It's Horses. It's definitely Horses.
I feel like it's Horses.
Yeah. In my heart, it's Horses.
This is a good example, though, of the power of social media. And you are very good with social media.
I'm all right.
I think you got a fire.
I'm hit or miss.
Your Twitter's pretty fire. But this is emblematic of kind of a new face of the engineer now. You know, because back in the 90s with rap, you would have Bob Power. You know, that would be like the only person that people could name, you know, at that time. But now, you know, everyone's got a Twitter. You know, you got Mixed by Ali. You've got like these kind of like star engineers. You know, you got, obviously, you mentioned before Mike Dean. And you're a part of this kind of new wave.
Yeah, I stuck in. Well, what I did, like, when we were in the studio all the time, like, I'm posting about what's going on. And I'm not, like, giving anything away. I don't ever do that. Don't ever say, this is a song we got coming. Don't ever claim anything. Like, I never did that. But I'm just, like, in the studio with Metro and Thug, doing this, like, doing that. Like, and I'll post it, wait a day or whatever. Like, oh, we had an amazing session, this. And then, like, when people would post the songs, I would make them aware that I mixed them, which is, like, obnoxious. But it worked because it, like, Danny Glover came out, and I was, like, favoriting every single person that, like, Danny Glover. I was just, like, I got to, like, build some sort of other identity for myself through this, because this could all go away at any time, and it'd be cool if more people knew who I was. It'd be easier to get more work, because nobody really talks about the engineers being important. They're expendable at the end of the day. Like, if you're an annoying engineer, and even if you're really good at your job, but the artist doesn't want to sit around you, they'll just go get a worse engineer and then pay a better mixer to fix it. Like, it's not how it should work, but, like, that's how it works. And so, like, in a world where, like, people are seeing you as kind of like, or at least, like, the labels and the general consensus is, like, they would do this for free because it's a great job and it's a lot of fun, and, like, they get to be part of something, and they're just the technical side, when I look at it as, like, sculpting and, like, art. And, like, so I wanted to kind of, like, make it known that that's how I view it, and, like, slowly but surely it kind of, like, built, like, this, like, following or whatever. And that's how I actually, like, that's how I know Ali, and I know Mike Dean now through that. It's like all that, like, it just, like, I don't know.
I feel like part of it has to do with, you know, things like Genius and people getting really into the, like, minutia of all these rap records, and, like, wanting to be like, oh, I found out who, like, mixed this track before anybody else, you know? Like, before it used to be in the 90s, it was like producers. We were starting to learn more about producers, but now it's like people, they want to know every part of it.
And, well, I know you mentioned Reddit. Before anything, I offered, like, I was like, I mixed Danny Glover. It was right after Danny Glover. I was like, I mixed Danny Glover. I'm like, if y'all have any music that you want me to hear, send it. And they sent, like, 600 songs, and I gave feedback on each and every song. And that, like, built, like, this, like, relationship between, like, me and, like, the fans, where they felt like they can, like, communicate, you know, with somebody that was involved. Maybe it wasn't the artist or the producer, but it was somebody that was involved. And the same thing happened with Kanye too. There was, like, they saw that when I put that, like, statement out there, they were like, oh shit, that's a person. There's a person behind that's affected more really than anybody else, because he can't go and tour to get that money back. Like, those are 150 mixes that I never got to get paid for or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? That was like, we did all the songs, and I'm like, I'm going to be all right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be able to charge a label for each and every mix of each and every song, because eventually these will all come out. And it was like one day, I woke up and I was like, well, there goes a year's worth of work. You know what I mean? Really 2 years worth of work. Like, it's not all of it, but it was, like, enough of it. And I think, like, becoming a human, like, instead of just, like, a name at the bottom of credits was important. And also, I wasn't getting credit because it's mixtapes. So I felt like I had to say something all the time. Like, I was like, there's no all music for mixtapes, really. Like, nobody really cares who, like, mixed, like, 19 and Booming, you know what I mean? Like, nobody really cared. And, like, now it's on there because some fan did it. And, like, they put the information up there. But, like, it's really, like, if it's not an official credit that a label posts, like, I still don't have credit for Barter 6 because it's a mixtape and there was no physicals except for the vinyl, which, like, who from All Music is going to buy a Barter 6 vinyl and check for my credit? Like, it just doesn't happen. So, like, I feel like reaching out and, like, solidifying, like, a name in a whole different arena, like, helped a lot with that. because otherwise you wouldn't be able to search me on the internet at all. So it'd be hard to find the guy that did all these songs. So there's no Danny Glover credit. There's no Rich Gang credit. There's none of that. It doesn't exist, which is a shame, and it should. It definitely should.
What do you think can help change that? Because it seems like it's kind of a rap thing where you have like these kind of like incorrect track listings and just like missing information. It's always been that way.
I think engineers should stand up for themselves more. I think when you're putting the track together, like, I know it's like Seth Firkins, Futures guy. When he did Esco Terrestrial, his name's on the front of it. But he stands up for himself. He's like, no, this isn't going to have credits. Like, I want my name mixed and mastered on the cover. And that's like the way that it has to go. I did it with Metro. I was like, Metro, can you just like throw something in there? Like mixed, executive or something. Like put my name on this tape. And it's like, those little images get circulated forever. You know what I mean? And like that's gonna be the closest you can get because there's no label pushing all music. There's no paperwork. Usually, it's usually like a cash in hand situation, or like the label or like the artist is paying you like off the books. You know, it's definitely not a label invoice where you can like prove, oh, I did this. You know what I mean? That didn't exist for like Rich Gang the tour. Like that was just like Alex mixing it. I was like, all right, let's go. Let's just do this now. And then like it comes around a year later. It's like if I didn't like literally just like scream from the mountaintops that I mixed it, like nobody would know anyway. But you know, it's just kind of how it is.
Well, now you're starting to get your props, you know, and I think this next song, in my opinion, is your best achievement because you helped it get free and heard by the world. This is from the most recent Young Thug release, Jeffrey, and it is a song called Harambe.
Get up. Bitch, kill a nigga fast, will a nigga back it up.
So I feel like comparing that to like Samore or Danny Glover, I feel like it's almost like it's like a different person is making the song.
He grows like exponentially every time I see him. Like every time I see him, it's like he's just like trying something new just because. And like he makes it work. Like he just knows what's gonna sound good in his head and then he just goes for it. Like he loses his mind in the booth. Like he's not one of those dudes who just like stands there. He's like dancing around, like jumping up and down, all that. You hear it in certain songs. You could hear his footsteps on the quiet parts of the songs. Like he's like stomping, and I'm like, and like I didn't pick up on it or something like that. Or like I'm like on headphones, and like I go back and I'm like, no, that's dope. I'm leaving that. I like that. Bruce Switty left Michael Jackson snapping.
That's right.
So I'm not gonna take out my Michael Jackson's stomping.
And so that song almost didn't make it on a Jeffrey.
This was another one of those like with that situations where like we were at Jungle City in New York, which has 2 rooms. He's in the room upstairs recording just because he never stops recording, and I'm downstairs mixing, and like I'm getting all these files. This is like mid-August, early August, and I'm getting all these files, and I go upstairs to play like I think NASCAR, or it's called Wyclef Jean now, Wyclef Jean for him, and I go to put the drive in, and he's like pulling up a song that he had halfway finished, which is this, and he's like playing it, and he's just kind of like shrugging his shoulders, like no, it's like he's like maybe I'll finish this one, and I'm like no, this is going on the album, finish it now, like I talked to the engineer, I'm like just keep playing this until he finishes it, and he had like the last verse, and they like flew the hook, or he had half a hook and the last verse to do, and like I was like you have to finish this now. And then the second he finished it, I don't know if he was like sold on it yet, but I just like went up there and like I told the engineer upstairs to text me, and I was like, put it on a hard drive, and I'm gonna come up there, quietly take it from you, and go back downstairs. And I stopped everything I was doing, and I mixed that, and I brought it back up like an hour later, and I was like, played it, and like there's video gotta be out because they had a dude filming the whole time, but like we went crazy. Like I was like standing on like the credenza, like jumping up and down, like in the room. Like I love that song. That song's so hype. I can't wait for him to do that song live. Like I really want to see that. That song live is gonna be insane.
Well, you know, I really feel like that the sound of rap, it changes so fast, right? Like we've seen it just from like the beginning of the songs that we played to now, and it's really a short period of time. And I feel like so many rappers and producers, they faded away over time because their music never really evolved. Like they just kept doing the same thing, and then they kind of fade out of the mainstream. So I'm wondering, how do you keep the sound appealing to people who are already feeling it, but fresh enough to still be cutting edge? You know, like how do you not stay stagnant? You know?
I think like the second you start to feel bored or not inspired by it, you just throw everything in the garbage. You know what I mean? Like every little template I've had that I've mixed on where it started to feel like, okay, I've been doing this for too long. So like get rid of all my presets for any of my delays, anything, like switch up the plugins, do all that. For me at least. It's like that's how I kept my sound continuing. And for him, it's like switch up the producers, get yourself out of your comfort zone, rap like that. Like whatever it takes to not be comfortable, because comfort's like the death of creation anyway. Like anytime you're comfortable, nothing good's happening. Personally, that's how I feel. Like the second, like, and I'm always kind of on edge in the studio, and so is everybody else. So it's like, it just fosters that environment, I think. At least for Atlanta rap, you know. I don't know about pop music. Like, I don't know if maybe you want like that situation in like, you know, Katy Perry's room, but like, for me,
Not in Young Thug's room.
yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way to start. Stop. Shout out to Alex Toomey. And yeah, let's open it up to questions.
Hi,
How's it going, man?
I was pretty good, and you?
I'm all right.
Okay. I feel like you touched upon this a bit before, but I feel like there is a bit of a connection between the kind of like spacey, like wrong sound in Animal Collective records and in the rap that you were doing later. Do you feel that is there? Do you feel like there's an influence? Did you think about the engineering and the mixing in similar terms? Did you bring anything from that over to the hip hop?
I think the only things that have to be a certain way in rap are the kick, the snare, and the 808. Those always have to hit hard, and they have to be in your face, because like that's a driving, definitive part of rap. And like the vocal has to be clear and present. Everything else I did like I would do. I never wanted to mix rap like a rap record, because I was in a city where everybody's mixing rap like a rap record. Like thinning out the vocals too much, like making them a little overcompressed for the sake of being overcompressed. Like just making everything in your face and dry and right there and heavily auto-tuned. And like that was the sound. And I was like, what if we pulled back on the auto-tune? What if we added a little bit more? What if we threw some like weird tape delays in there? That stuff that like you don't normally get in rap. And like that's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's better or worse, but it put me here and everybody else is right here. So everybody else is competing for the same stuff, working together, and I was over here doing something slightly different just because it's what I preferred. And I did what I preferred, and like it just kind of like the people who gravitated to it did, and those were my clients now. The people who didn't stuck with the handful of other engineers that were doing it all that way. And I think that was like a big part of it, was like that opening influence of like there are no rules, like changed how I looked at rap. And I think the fact that I ran into Thug at the studio is like the luckiest thing, because he's the perfect vehicle for that kind of sound. It's like he doesn't abide by the rules of rap at all. And I think that was just like the universe or whatever. It was just me getting really lucky.
Anyone else? Oh, back there.
So it was really interesting you talking about how you were kind of there when like the Atlanta trap scene was like coming up and like from the beginning. What cities in the US or like anywhere are kind of like emerging new sounds and creating new sounds, and like where should we be looking to kind of see the new rap or new hip hop?
Houston's incredible right now. Houston, Detroit, Chicago, Miami. New York's got like a whole new vibe that they're kind of working on right now. Like a lot of the dudes from New York aren't abiding by the boom bap rules anymore, like Designer. And like, of course you have LA, but like really a lot of the new interesting stuff I'm hearing is from Houston. Like that stuff kind of blows me away right now.
Right there.
I also choose to believe he says horses. Anyways, did you work on the Bankroll Mafia tape?
I had recorded a few songs on there, but it was done mostly by T.I.'s engineer, Elliot Carter, at the studio next door, because they were going back and forth. Like at the time, like Bankroll Mafia was recording a whole bunch of songs at Sound Studios, and we're neighbors, and so it was like a lot of like back and forth through that. Bankroll Mafia was created by one of the dudes in the studio. Like it was Shad originally, and his buddy, and like we came up with it like way back, like way earlier. And it just kind of like grew over time, and then like we like Tip was like, all right, let's do this, and like Doug got in, and then like there's a song, I Need War, and that was kind of like where it became a real thing, and that was one that I did, but I only worked a little bit on that one.
Hey, another question. How do you deal with like the artists in terms of like letting them do what they know how to do, what they want to do, but still like, do you ever have to like be like, no, you have to do this way, or how do you deal with that situation of like getting what you need as an engineer and letting the artists do what they need to do?
It always depends. Like, one thing I'll say is like, especially when you're starting, the only thing you have to do is show up, and show up all the time, and show up first and leave last, because until they know you and you have a reputation or they've worked with you enough, nobody cares if you're good or what your opinion is or what you have to say, because like I said, they look at you like an engineer, and it's your job to like prove that your opinion is valid and like that they should listen to you. And then like certain dudes, like Pee Wee Longway is always looking for feedback. He's like, what do you think about this line? What about this one? What about this? And he'll just rap it over and he'll be like, all right, this one's best, and like take that and move on. And there's certain artists that are like looking for it. And there's certain artists that if you interject, you've thrown them off their whole creative process. And like now the session's ruined and they're never calling you again. So it's just like, I only speak up when I know I'm right. Like when I'm 100% like, this is how this should go, I say something. Because at that point, it's detrimental to the music and the end project. So you have to at that point. And that's your risk to take. And I've done it a few times, but like for the most part, like unless I know I'm right or something could be cool, and it's like it's an environment that's kind of like fostering that. Like he's done, like say like Thug's done it. Like, yo, what if you went back and like did some oohs and ahs here and here, and like I did something to them. But most of the time, what I'll do is I'll take old takes. Like with a situation like that, I'll just go in and I'll like open up the like my tracking track, and I'll like, put it in playlist mode, and I'll drop it down, and I'll just solo every little like sound he makes, and like chop them up and like put them in the background and like stuff like that. Because like sometimes you just gotta like work with what you have, and like I mean there's 300, 400 takes, and like there's gonna be something in there.
I had a question for you.
You again?
Yeah, that's right. When can we expect High Tunes?
I know nothing about release dates ever. I know, you know what I know about the release date? When I say, here's the album. Like, every other time I've been like, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, I will not speak on it. Like, I don't know. And it's not because I, like, know and I don't want to say it. It's like, I found out too from the internet. I found out from the little video they put out also that said August 26th. And then I was like, August 26th, that's the date. Like, I guess I won't be sleeping for the next 10 days. And like, that was it.
What else is next from you? What are you going to be working on?
Well, I got a call a couple of days ago from Metro, and I think he's going to be doing his own project, an album, and so I'm going to be mixing that, I'm hoping. So, because that's like, as far as like dudes who have done the most for me, Metro has done the most, and I really want to like consistently be working with him all the time, like, because he's like always looked out for me 100%, like more than anybody else. Like, he's the one that like co-signed me with Thug. He's the one that like got me in the room with Bird the first time. Like, he's always been like, no, you should trust this dude. Like, I trust him. You should trust him. And that's how with the Savage Mode stuff, like that's how that even got in the door. He called me, he's like, yo, you need to do this. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, but where are you? And he was like, yo, we're in, I forget where they were. They were in LA or something, but they were coming back to Atlanta, but I wasn't in Atlanta, so I flew back to Atlanta and like met him in the studio, and like they gave me like 1 or 2 tracks, and I did one, and it was Ocean Drive, and I did it, and the auto-tune was in the wrong key, the dude who recorded it, and I don't really like Melodyne in rap, so I had to like put like 3 or 4 different auto-tunes on it. Like, so I put like the auto-tune EFX, which is like super strong, like 100%, and I put it in the right key. So he's still hitting notes weird. So I put like a slower auto-tune on it, which slowed down the way it like grabbed it. And so like it basically like rehumanized the wrong notes. And like then I put the harmonies on there, and like it transformed into like a whole another song. And they were like, okay, you can mix the whole album. And I was like, cool, it was fun. Right.
Okay, let's end it there. Let's give it up for Alex Toomey.